So my problem for my speech is low voter turnout. Why should we fix it? To vote is to cause someone to gain or lose a particular post or honor by means of a vote. When a citizen votes, their voice is heard. Votes are then counted up, and the delegates with the most votes win the office. Voting decides our country's politics. Is our leader going to be Republican, a Democrat, or independent? Will our Senate be controlled by the Democrats? Will our House of Representatives be controlled by the Republicans? All of these selections are in the hands of the citizens in the United States, for our government is a democracy. Power to the people. When one votes, he or she is voicing their opinion and making a change. Why would one not want to voice their opinion? Your voice, your vote. First, voting allows the government to reflect the wishes of the majority. According to www.vitana.org, out of 35 peer countries, the United States ranks 28th in terms of voter turnout. In the state of Hawaii, the average voter turnout is somewhere around 50%. In West Virginia, the average voter turnout is just 52.9%. In Australia, where mandatory voting is enforced, turnout rates are often above 90%. That means that the government is a better reflection of the population. If the government doesn't truly reflect the wishes of the majority, then is it really a democracy? Okay, this symbolizes the polarization and the bipartisan nature of the politics today. Second, voting limits the voices of the extreme on either side, Republicans or Democrats. If there is a low voter turnout, the extremes of both sides of partisan are heard more than a high voter turnout. You don't want the voice of an extreme to be louder than your voice. This allows the government to pursue legislation that is more centrist in nature, which benefits the general society more than one political side or the other. According to www.bestcolleges.org, voting can sway the election. Younger voters of today can allow their vote to be heard to overrule the elderly vote, who has a 49% voter turnout from ages 45 to 64. This is compared to the 19% of voter turnout of people aged 18 to 29. If those younger people would vote, then it would sway the election towards the younger people. Third, voting encourages voters to be informed about candidates and issues. There will always be people who go to the voting booth to make random votes. If you truly want to make your voice heard, you need to learn more about the politicians and truly select which one appeals to you. According to the book, Why We Vote, from David E. Campbell, he is explaining why a woman named Tracy Hogsden casted her ballot in the Boston City Council election. He writes, "So why did you vote?" When asked, she replied, "I just think it's important to vote. If you have the right, you ought to exercise it, whether you're going to make a difference or not." Now, by being educated on voting, Tracy Hogsden and all the other citizens in the world can truly make a difference. Now, on to the next book, The American Voter, authored by some colleagues at the University of Michigan and published in 1960. That concludes that most voters cast their ballots primarily on the basis of partisan identification, which is often simply inherited from their parents, and that independent voters are actually the least involved and attentive to politics. If one is educated about who they're voting for, the United States will not be represented by the older generation who passes down their bipartisan relationship to the son or daughter. Lastly, voting, whether it is for your city commissioners or the presidential election, should always be promoted. Voting is a duty of the American citizen. We are fortunate to live in a country who allows their leaders to be represented by the people. In the country of Brunei, there are no elections. In North Korea, dictator Kim Jong-il chooses what he wants to do regardless of what the citizens think. Voting allows the government to reflect the wishes of the majority. It also limits the voices of the extreme and encourages voters to be informed about candidates and issues. Voting can truly voice one's opinion. Now, to vote, if you're not registered to vote, you can go downtown and you can register to vote. It's an easy process. And when you want to vote, you go on election day or one of the other election days, and you simply go to your place of voting. It's based on where you live, and you just cast your ballot. It's that easy. It takes maybe 30 minutes at most. It depends on the line. Now, that is my persuasive speech, and thank you.